street committee meeting to order. Got the whole committee and the street supervisor and city manager here. So let's go ahead and see what everybody's got this evening. Carla, you want to go ahead?
Well, I just have some old business I want to check up on. Well, one of you guys, do you know if we ever got up to seal all those cracks in Pine Grove so we don't lose that?
So this is before your time, Jason. This was before we were even out and about. So the short answer is no. Thank you for bringing that up. I fell off my radar. So what it is they repaved up in Pine Grove, and it's just a matter of taking the kettle up there. And we have plenty of material to put in the kettle and just seal up all the cracks just to maintain that.
I'm hoping to have it out in a couple of weeks to some of the holes we've done. So we'll just take one day and get it off.
Thank you for that, Carl. It totally slipped off my radar.
Okay, that's fine. And this isn't real important, but it's been going on for at least a year probably. All the free yellow paint that we got that we was going to put, like as you top over Watkins to come to right where the bike path is, we was going to paint that right across the street, kind of as a caution. And the paint's just been sitting here, and that was probably before your time too, Scott. We had brought it up like 2 or 3 times, and it was always, yes, we're going to do it. And I don't think it's been done yet.
It definitely hasn't been done. I drive that every day. And now that's on the radar as well. So
going over in Polyfield.
yeah, it's bringing caution to so it's a real safety hazard there. Even though there's stop signs for the bicyclists, they typically run it. And the folks that live down there, me, it's a blind spot, if you will, especially where they come behind the tree. So it's just to bring awareness to the intersection.
I mean, that's up to you guys, at least the top side where you come up. I mean, there's a whole gallon, I guess, of paint. So
Was there a specific design you guys had in mind for that, or just a caution line of some sort?
just a line.
Okay.
And then the last old business that I had that we was going to do, back in March before all this came up, was we needed time and a route for the street sweeper.
So the old sweeper route we found, and I gave to previous council person, what it is, it's half east. I can get it for you again, but it's the same one that we've had for years, east end and west end, and then odd numbers on the street. It's no change.
But I mean, we need to get it out there. And what days have we been running the street sweeper? How many streets have got done? Has it been set to the route?
Sure. So we've been, so I completely underestimated the amount of time the sewer project was going to take away from our guys. So it hasn't been run full schedule as I'd hoped. No excuse, just rather an explanation. That's starting to ramp down. And do you see any issues with getting the street sweeper back on schedule within the next 2 weeks?
I would say next week we should go get it back on schedule. We've got a lot of leaks right now we're trying to get fixed.
I understand.
We've actually got one that's been leaking for quite some time.
Years.
Years.
That was just one of the
We always
reasons.
try to get things swept up for the Prairie of the Hills, but I guess we don't have.
That was just one of the reasons, and I know you don't know because you wasn't here, but that was just one of the reasons through experience and people that's been here for years and years. That's why we have the seasonal summer worker is to help with the mowing and to help with the street sweeper.
I didn't know we had a budget for a seasonal worker. We would have hired him. We had $10,000 for hiring a contractor. No, I'm being serious. I really don't know, but I'll hire him tomorrow if we have that budget.
We did. You'll have to get with Taylor. It was the $10,000 budget. We had 6 for citywide. Maybe it was 6,500. And I'm not sure how that got changed.
It ended up in
It ended up getting changed. I'm sure you remember all of that.
Yeah, right. There was 10,000 for citywide mowing.
It wasn't 10 for citywide.
He
It was
was
6,500 or 7, but you wasn't here when we did the budget.
Right. I was just talking about
For
the budget.
citywide mowing, and the 10,000 was for the seasonal weed, which was from June till what, August, I think.
Well, we had it.
So it
I was on the
wasn't
finance
bad.
committee up till December, the first meeting in December. We had it in there,
We did.
but I don't know what happened after I.
But we're not gonna go over again what happened, but anyways, that's just where the
Well, what I meant-
experience comes in and why we put things in the budget because kind of from previous years past, like the guys tell us their problems. I try to meet with each department once or twice a year. They tell me what they need, what's not working. And in 2018, we got rid of a lot of stuff. And in 2019, they came, this isn't working out. So we changed it. And this is just why we had set up the budget the way we did. And because we know we need that extra man just in the summer, just like for mowing, for the street sweeper, for things that come up in the summer. And
When I said, I don't know.
so
what
just
happened-
moving forward for the next budget.
Well, yeah, if we can put it in there, because if it was in it,
It was in there, but
Carla, when I said, I don't know what happened, I meant, I don't know what happened after I left, whether it stayed in or whether it got taken out. But if it got taken out, it should be put back in for next year,
yes, please.
because Carla's telling you that God's on the street. We sat here for 4 years and would say, how come the potholes wasn't filled? How come the grass wasn't cut? And we tried to do something to address that.
we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's a conversation we'll have to have, and
yeah.
Moving forward,
I'll ask
Budget.
Taylor for a copy of that, because I don't know that I have a copy of the budget itself either, so I'd like to see that.
Sure.
So,
I
yeah, I'll
got
ask her
a copy
tomorrow.
electronically, but I can't read it on
so
the.
I would make
Okay.
you one, but it's like 46 pages, so I don't, and I printed it out at home. So,
Taylor's good at the email, so you can send me a copy. I'm pretty easily, I'm sure, so we'll get to the bottom of that.
And the good news, we're getting a HAPCAP individual to join our team in the next week, hopefully, that will be doing yard work or landscaping rather for us. So that'll be a big addition. For the most part,
maybe he can know.
yes, that's the plan. We'll put him on that, mainly the weed eater.
Yeah, I read that today, everything they sent over.
So that'll be a big help. And again, I can't stress at the end of the year when we balance the budget, how much overtime we had and parts and materials due to the sewer. We were not prepared for the sewer project at all. And luckily, a lot of that's been taken care of, but that will be, at the end of the year, that is going to be a very obvious overage in their department. So the guys have been doing a great job. Very happy, with their performance. Bringing Jason in has mitigated a lot of the 3-hour call outs by coming in and saying we can wait till Monday to do that versus working on a Saturday. So we have, compared to the amount of overtime there would have been versus where we're at, we've significantly reduced. But absolutely, I would love to have a person on the roster. And
And so you say you
Part-time.
can get on the street sweeper only because, and I'm only stressing it because we okayed the
One of the reasons
$70,000 and,
Right.
The
One of the
residents
reasons we
told us
bought
to
this
do that.
smaller sweeper was so you didn't have to have a CDL.
right.
so one of the other things for the sweeper too, what our plan is, we're not going to winterize it. We found a place for heated storage. So in the winter, when we have mild days, as long as it's above freezing, we can actually operate year round.
Oh,
So we're
Excellent.
not going to winterize it and put it away this year like we have in the past. It'll be in a heated garage.
that would be nice.
Yeah, we've got some other things going where we might go get some guys in it on the weekends possibly. That are already here.
Along with saying we got some efficiencies we're building with our current resources and shuffling duties and to put a lot of that on there. So I guess I'll be more direct. The sewer employees that are here on the weekend, once we get to a certain position in the construction where they switch over to the new lift station, we are going to assign tasks to them on the weekends and street sweeping being one of them.
Excellent.
That's great.
When do you get your camera?
I'm waiting for my PO. I got everything turned in, just waiting on the PO for camera and locator.
Why's that taking so long?
But I just got the PO and stuff done because the money just got moved over Friday to a line item.
Gotcha.
We pushed it this morning, right? Or was it yesterday?
This one.
This morning.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I didn't get the line item numbers till yesterday afternoon.
And that was all I had, Justin.
Awesome. Great.
Carla got most of them, but on the Church Street project, when that grant from FEMA first became available, it was 75-25. And at the time, the state of Ohio was picking up 12.5% also. And Actually, Jay Edwards called me up and wanted to make sure that I knew about that, so, but then FEMA delayed the project somehow. And I'm wondering if that cheated us out of the 12.5%, or if that money's still there with the state. And then we can find out, because 12.5% of $650,000 is a lot of money, so if we can pick that 12.5% up, that can go to paving projects. The other thing I have is, I talked to you about last night, was trying to deal with dust down there with the project, and I can't find his number. I tried to call him. I've got 3 or 4 different people, and I can't find his number. I'll try to, if we don't get out of here too late, I'll try to stop. But I was going to tell him that you were going to talk to him and stop him.
Mhm.
But I got some other calls, people wanting to know when they have a street light out, because they say, and I don't know if this is true, they say they're calling over here and being told to call electric company themselves. And then they say they're calling and the electric company ain't doing anything about the burnout street light.
So there's one specific I know about, and that's on Grosvenor Street, actually 2 lights on Grosvenor Street. And they disconnected the wire after one of the storms. So,
that wasn't the guy called me, but.
oh, okay, well, that one they've called multiple times about, so I thought maybe I would just address that. So we actually went up there, myself and Jason, a week and a half ago, and met with an AEP rep. And they know about it, they're tracking it, they don't have an ETA. But for folks that do have outages, we got one of 2 things we can do. So on our website, you can go on our website and report it that it's out. Also, you can call. I'm not sure why they were told that they had to call it in, but I can definitely look into that and figure that out.
I was just thinking maybe we could get it. I didn't know about the website. That's a good idea. Maybe we could get some way that they can call in and, just
Absolutely.
give an address, and we'll take care of it.
We also have that text my gov.
Yep.
And me and Becky both check that multiple times a day for anything.
Do you know the number of it?
It is. So what folks can do at home is they can text HI to the city of Nelsonville at 740-265-3858. And from there, you just put a brief description. You can take a picture. There's a whole lot of options, and it goes straight into our work order system. You can also, as soon as you go to the city's website, it's a pop-up and it's right in your face. There's no way to get around it unless you exit off of it. Yeah, it is in your face.
The sad part is I X out of it every time. I don't even read what it is. So I guess maybe I need to educate myself a little more too.
Shame. I'm just kidding.
We get quite a bit on that.
Do it. Yeah, I wasn't aware. Maybe that's something we probably need to publicize a little more.
Absolutely.
Dummies
So
like me.
All right, what's the number again?
Oh, I just exited off of it. Hold on. It is 740-265-3858. And implementation on our new work order system has been slow at best, just with a multitude of reasons, but we are still pursuing that. And this is one of the really nice benefits. Folks can take pictures of a pothole. It gets sent to Jason. Jason can schedule it for work, assign materials, assign resources. And then after we do this for a while, we'll have a database that we can actually program ahead of time what it really costs us to go out and do, how much time we spend on potholes, how much time or how much materials cost. We're not there yet. We got to do data collection, of course, but that's
That
where
was
we're headed.
really easy. I just did it for anybody who wants to do it. That was really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pump
Please,
that out.
folks, 740-265-3858.
Speaking of potholes, I'll just go ahead and report directly. You know about the one over on Hocking Parkway? Yeah. I texted Scott yesterday about it, but
The one where they're bringing the dump truck.
Yeah.
up and out.
I almost ripped the bottom part of my car off. Which I'm
I'm
sure
not
something
for
will
midnight ride. I can just text that if I see something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
No, and you can take a picture too.
First thing in the morning, I'm usually here between 6 and 6:30. Becky's usually here around 7.
A lot of times, 1:30 in the morning, I don't sleep much, so a lot of times I'll go out for a real late ride just to see what's going on. Sometimes I see stuff and I gotta call Scott about that in the morning, then by the morning I forgot about
So
it.
now you can just text the number.
Yeah.
Take pictures.
Absolutely, it's great because then we can assign it work and then we can track it start to finish. They'll close it out. They can tell you who worked on it. And then once we are fully up and using the system to its fullest potential, Jason will go out. So let's use a pothole as an example. You report the pothole, he assigns work, does everything else. Once it's done, he can take his tablet out there, snap a picture of it, just so we have proof of it, and it automatically texts you back and tells you that the job's complete.
So your work orders and everything are electronic then?
Didn't know
Or
it
will
did
be.
all that, but.
Well, now you know, you learned something tonight too.
Implementation has been a struggle. So,
As with any new program.
yeah, the system's great. The people are great. It's just dedicating that time to it. I hate to sound like a broken record, but the sewer project has totally caught us off guard.
Yeah, there was one day we were down there 4 times, fixed the same water service.
You were telling me, or Scott was telling me about that.
So,
yeah, awesome. Okay.
It'll be worth it in the end.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to be wonderful.
So you think when's the ETA of that being
2 months.
2 months?
When I first come on council in 1997, our water plant was falling in, and I was told our sewer plant was out of date and we could only run it for another 10 years before EPA started to. And those 2 projects are just, was almost told it was just almost impossible to deal with. But you look at the $18 million, if we wasn't looking at the $14 million in loan forgiveness for the sewer plant, you know, your sewer bill alone would be $125, $130, and you're sitting there as a councilman, you're going, how do I deal with that? Because I can't put $130, just not even water, just the $130 sewer bill on the people on fixed incomes and stuff. So
I may not have been so quick to volunteer for the job.
Right.
No, that was coming down. So it's a great start, and I think city's moving in the right direction. So the only thing I wanted to ask about was Chestnut Street. We talked about it a little bit the other day.
So Chestnut Street, that's what I have for you folks. So Chestnut Street, what I'm talking about is where the sewer project is actually happening. They started tearing up the end of Chestnut Street where it splits off from Canal. And the original plan was to go 9 feet wide, cut the bricks right down the middle, pull out the bricks, set them off to the side. And once they move through there, reset the bricks and no problem. They knew that there was going to be a certain amount of brick loss that they were going to have to find alternative bricks. I know they were looking around in our pile out back for some. However, I don't know if you guys have been down there, but it has reached a point now where the cave-ins have gone from curb to curb and actually swallowed the end of somebody's driveway that we're going to have to replace.
Thought it was going to be the backside of the sidewalk.
So
fell apart like an 8-day clock.
it did.
It's been in there for how many years?
Yes, the soil conditions they're really bad. And so with that said, we've taken some mitigating action to stop that level of cave-in. What came about was the feasibility of being able to put those brick back is just not feasible with the amount of brick that have now been damaged, lost, and destroyed due to the expansion. Prior to that happening, we were still pursuing other alternatives. So we contacted Stantec contacted the EPA because the grant requires that the brick go back, and we asked for a variance. So EPA contacted the State of Ohio historical folks, and they came down and they evaluated the project, and they immediately, within seconds of being on site, acknowledged that there's no way the brick can go back in that street. So the follow-on to that is nobody wants to lose the historical piece of the brick. So one of the things that, I was just talking to them, brainstorming ideas, one idea that I had was, down the road, maybe having some sort of decorative brick on the square, but that's, dreams way down the road. And one of the suggestions that they had, which I thought was a really good suggestion, was to put in a sidewalk using those brick. We could do it on the side with, depending on the easement size, there is an easement on both sides of the street. You could put it on the side that's on the gas station and barbecue side, because there's currently no sidewalk there, or put it on the other side of the street where the existing sidewalk is that's busted up. The idea is you use the brick to create a sidewalk. You put a little plaque out there that talks about the brick. The brick was created here, and this year it was put down, and any historical
Stamped concrete.
asphalt. Stamped concrete for that distance came back.
Never mind.
So it's 8 inches of asphalt on top of a compacted base is what they are
And that
proposing.
worked well on West Washington Street. If you go from Adams Street up West Washington Street, the brick was taken out of there and replaced with asphalt in 2005 or 2006 when the bypass was done. And so that's 15 years, that street's pretty much held up.
It's
So
good shape, yeah.
So the plan is not to get rid of the bricks. The plan is to bring the bricks here and we have multiple angles of support that come here and support us for community service and so forth, and create a sorting station in the back and palletize the bricks and hold on to them for future projects. So back to
that's
the,
tough work.
it is. So that's community.
Clean them up, but if you've ever done it, that's
And there's gonna be a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
So the contractor has agreed to bring the bricks here, allow us to sort through them, our community service folks, palletize them, and then they are willing, if we want them to come back and clean up the rest. We also have bricks from other projects out there that we want to palletize as well. I want to save as many bricks from different streets as we can and kind of keep the lineage that goes along with that for future projects should somebody want to do something historical in the town and be able to explain that, or give that lineage that goes along with it. So my information to you is there any major objections to going with the way the project wants to go now? And if so, is there any solutions that we propose and funding streams to go along with that as far as now that it's escalated out? So currently we're going to be repairing curbs on both sides, not the entire ones, just the ones that got swallowed, sidewalks and driveways.
it's in the street. I don't know why. I mean, if you get a new street in front of your house, I don't know why that's.
I think it,
The reason we had to go away with getting the weight off of it so it wasn't caving in, we've got a 4-inch water main runs down through there. That was the reason we had to fix the water line 4 times of the
Mhm.
service. What was happening was as it caved in, it kept dropping and pushing that main down. And then the curb would fall in and it kept pushing it away. So the main was getting a bow in it and it kept pulling it apart. It just kept pulling enough. So we had to get the weight off of it so we didn't lose the water main down through it.
So
What was making the weight?
It's just the curb. There's under the bricks, there's 8 inches of concrete. And the ground underneath is not very good. So as they were digging, because they're digging 22 feet, 21 feet.
yeah,
roughly. So as they're digging over where their trench is at, everything's sliding out. And it kept sliding out and it would just keep dropping it until it would just give away. And it's coming down and falling on the main. And kept pushing it, pushing it.
correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but you guys have a piece of equipment with ratchet straps sitting down there now holding the line above
Skid steers down there.
Wow.
Holding
the water line.
so it doesn't fall down in further. But it's been a week now and so far so good, knock on wood.
Did you get any input at all from like citizens that live there or townspeople or, because I know brick would be preferable, but and asphalt's just gonna get potholes that we'll have to resurface someday. I don't know
Well,
what cost. And
I don't know that brick is preferable or not, because you look at Jefferson Street.
we don't want to talk
Right.
about that.
Right.
Was that 40,000 a year we pay for that still?
Yeah.
For the next 30 plus years?
That wasn't because of the brick. That's because of the way it was done.
That's the
Well,
other problem,
so
actually.
yeah,
we're still paying for it.
if you put it back, there's nobody that has the skill that they had when they built those brick streets I mean, now stamped concrete was wonderful. Now what should have happened up through there, it should have been all stamped concrete because the price would have been the same anyway, but we got to save the brick, we got to save the brick. And they got a brick street, but they don't drive by that. Well, this street's gonna be nice and smooth, so.
I know that was also an issue the contractor had was finding somebody to lay it. That's a lost trade.
It's 2020.
There's nobody
It's
that does that nowadays.
If
time
I-
to asphalt the street and make it a nice street.
Well, if I could just expand real quick on the skill trade. When you originally bid it, Carlin, it was only for a 9-foot width. And when you're just putting brick back 9 feet for the most part, they didn't foresee any issues with that. Now that it is swallowed curbs on both sides of the street, that's where it's gone out of their skill level. So there was never anticipated that level of cave in. They did soil samples ahead of time to try and prevent that. But just the sheer amount of weight on the road, on the sides of it, is what pushed all that in. So that's why we've had to start scraping the sides off of it to eliminate that weight pushing down on
There's
it.
weight underneath the existing road, on the same side of the road, the eastbound lane. They found the other road, the old road. The curb was in 2 feet inside the road from where the existing one's at. So the old road was actually 2.5 foot deeper than what the road is now.
That was concrete, brick, dirt, concrete, brick, right? If I got it, I remember taking a picture of it down there.
Yeah, it was brick, concrete, dirt, brick, concrete.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a lot of weight. As stuff's falling out, it's just dropping.
It sounds
Was there a
good.
sewer line down through there previously?
There is an old sewer line down through there. That's what they're replacing. It's 21, 22 foot deep.
And what I think's happened, which is
Well,
has happened at Nick and Harry's corner, happened in front of Frank's Market. You get a surge of INI, it goes somewhere, it causes it causes stuff to wash out, and then you got all that weight sitting on top of it. And then you eventually,
and the thing with the main sewer that runs down through, I believe it's on an 18-inch.
Yes.
Yeah.
The best estimates they got was late 1800s.
Wow.
So if I could paint a picture of what that looked like. So underneath the 18-inch pipe, they had wood cribbing. Some of it was actually even axe cut, but it crisscrossed underneath, and that's what supported the line. And then they filled that in. Back then, I don't know what the compaction technology was, probably stamp it with your foot. And, for what they use for backfill, they use coal slack, which actually is better than the sand and the other material that they put in there. So when you go down there and look at it, you can see multiple colors layer by layer all the way down to the bottom.
and that's why that one part we had to fix. It's filled, where the canal was filled, it's filled with the same kind of stuff, so.
And to expand on your point further, the clay pipe, as it deteriorates and the amount, when it was built, it was never built for the amount of the gallonage that we're pushing through it now. The weight created the leaks, as you talk about the INI and everything else, but the leaks from the pipe itself created those voids underneath. Again, the voids that was all anticipated. What wasn't anticipated was the weight of the street blowing the walls out, essentially. So it was very unfortunate for the utilities crew who did a phenomenal job.
Large trench boxes in down there last Monday or Tuesday. It caved in hard enough to move their box.
Wow.
And I mean, these are very big. It takes 2 track hoes to move their boxes.
Yeah, there's one sitting down behind Carter's. I was looking at it the other day, I'm going, wow, look at that.
And
They're huge.
it
Yeah.
dropped enough, and when it caved in, it moved the trench box. They couldn't get their bucket in between it. They had to re-dig everything out and reset it.
Do we have any comments at all, by the way?
So far, I have no comments, just a bunch of folks watching. Hello, everyone.
Well, it sounds like you've come up with, it sounds like a plausible plan to me, that, the most cost effective and the quickest amount of time to get Chestnut Street back in shape and get folks driving on it again.
Where are we with the bridge on Wood Lane?
Couple weeks from start. I just sent out the letters to the sheriff and to the superintendent notifying them closures.
So everybody ought to plan on avoiding that for the school system.
Absolutely. So when school starts, you can count on Trash Pile or Wood Lane Drive being closed again for the bridge repair. So just to follow up, so with the historical folks, what made it plausible to adjust the grant that we had and everything else was to, commit to a 5, they can even go up to 10-year, and they're even extendable memorandum of understanding that we would put a sidewalk in memorializing those bricks. And
I think it's a great idea.
if that's all right with you folks, I would like to have Mr. Hunter draft that up and bring it to council.
Only thing I think you probably should be done there is if you're gonna put it on the side, it doesn't have a sidewalk, not walk down them property owners, knock on the door and say, what do you think of us putting a sidewalk here?
Absolutely.
I mean, so there's only 2 or 3 people there, so, at least get your opinion on it.
I just assumed replace the one that's broken up, and instead of saying, hey, we're putting a new brick sidewalk across the street from you, but we're keeping a busted one here.
Yeah, but the other people don't have one at all.
Well,
That's on the.
I don't care what you do, but if you decide to go on those, down the one, just stop and talk to the people and say, what do you think about it?
Yep.
Absolutely. So we do have something that just popped in. So, street committee, city manager, has anyone checked out the sinkhole towards the bottom of Mason City Hill? It was reported a couple months ago.
The one in the middle, yes, we have. We're gonna get it when we get the water line hole at the bottom of it.
Okay,
The sinkhole started in the middle of the road. It's on the yellow line.
do you have an estimated time?
I'm hoping to start that at the beginning of next week also.
Okay, so within the next 2 weeks, you have anticipate
Yes.
a repair. Okay. Oh, here's another question. I can answer this one. How much longer is the temporary sewer line and pump going? I believe that they want to know how much longer is it going to be there. And 2 months longer is the foreseeable future. If we can get it out of there sooner, we will. But it looks like 2 months before we're able to pull out the above ground pumping and the generator pump and so the whole 9 yards. Also, what about the possibility of a sidewalk on Mason City Hill? People walk that daily and it is a dangerous situation. I don't know the feasibility. I haven't really actually given it that close of a look to see if you could even put a sidewalk on there.
You might be able to make it up to maybe the apartments. But after that, it's straight uphill on one side and I think straight downhill on the other side.
That'd be steps. That's what they do in Hawaii. Lots of steps. I think we could put it on the radar. I mean,
You might have Stantec, see if there's any grant money sitting around.
It's worth a look anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. See if there's anything else in here.
And there probably is, just because it probably comes with a pretty hefty match, so.
Much longer. All right. That's all I have comments wise so far.
Well, I have just one question, and you weren't here before. I live on Riverside Drive, so the regional jail is at the top of the hill for me. So we have the issue with all of the prisoners being released at different times through the day. Just because we're in committee and I can ask this question, if they don't acquiesce to some kind of plan, can we shut Riverside Drive off to pedestrian traffic? There's no sidewalk there, and that's a dangerous road.
It's an interesting thought. I don't know.
So I believe Chief Fitch was going to talk to the regional jail warden up there with those people about.
I had a meeting once with he and Chris, and that stuck for about 2 weeks. So
I guess what I'm saying, you're proposing shut down that hill to street traffic to make it safer for people walking down the hill.
no, shut it down to pedestrian traffic for people driving up and down the hill. When people walking, it's not safe for them either.
I don't know if that's legal.
I don't know if it is or not. I'm just bringing up the question. But, they let all these people pour into town at all times, day and night. They don't seem to want to work with us at all. So maybe it's time to play hardball.
I can definitely talk to Mr. Hunter about the options we have and don't have. And
Like I said, I do have a vested interest because it's, my wife and kids in the house that they like to walk up the driveway and ask to use the phone or ask for a ride or
sure.
and they turn the dogs loose on them, but that's a different story.
Why don't you put a couple of Christmas signs in your.
I do. I've got several.
If they come by them, Should be call the police station to haul them off.
I usually come to the door and tell them to get off my property and they leave, so.
Jason, I got another question. It's not a street question, but it's about the hydrant on ME Street leaking up there.
We've got it. on
It's
the-
scheduled, and that one's down the road if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the radar.
Yeah.
We have got multiple leaks throughout town, and we gotta prioritize them.
Mhm.
That's like the one on Jefferson, the one-way part of Jefferson Street. It's been leaking for over 2 years.
It's unbelievable how much water we've been losing out of that. And just to give a little bit of the backstory that for all the citizens who reported it, so every time it got called in as a water leak, we went out and verified that it wasn't a water leak. The way we verified is we put test strips in the water and checked for chlorine.
Yeah, well, we would take it to the plant too. We get samples and take it to the plant. They would be tested for chlorine and fluoride.
And the results came back with no chlorine and fluoride in it. So we ended up digging back into the hill and taking a water sample, about 2 feet back into the dirt?
I had a camera company that was in town. We were looking, there's a storm drain runs through there and nobody's sure exactly where it's at. So I had them in town. It's collapsed in a couple spots, so we started digging. We found a lot more water coming out of the hill. We reached back in and took a sample. It had chlorine and fluoride in it. What it was there's a bunch of coal in there, and as it was filtering through that coal to come out at the bottom, it was filtering everything out of it and showing it as just hill water.
That's when my mother-in-law texted me about one day after I was appointed to council.
It should,
I said, well, give me at least a week.
actually, right now, it should be stopped. We got the water. It was a service that goes straight up over the hill.
Oh, wow.
We got it shut off, and now we've got to go in tomorrow. There's 2 houses that are off that we got to take new services in for, but we're putting them on top of the hill instead of trying to come down over the hill.
Good.
It was a more complicated water line break than what these guys are. I mean, these guys knock out multiple water line breaks a day, but this one was slightly outside the normal realm of work. I'm not seeing any other comments.
Well, I can just fill in the silence.
Sure, go for it.
Just because you're fairly new to this, Jason, but the water issues have been, and leaks, as Dan's probably even told you, have been going on for years. They're not new, and it's really nice to see a lot of them getting addressed. They're not brand new water leaks, although they do happen more and more every day, but it's an
We're
ongoing
trying.
issue.
I've got a window in between my office and our main shop, and it's right there, wrote all over which ones we got, and I love seeing empty spots on.
I'll get this electronic work order system in with the citizens tip program. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, but me having them right up there,
Sure.
right in front of my desk, and they're right there for me to look
And
at.
just people being able to communicate with you guys and let you know, hey, this is what I see, and here's a picture of it, so.
I want to be able to tell the customer that we fixed their pothole and they see a picture of it. That's the end game. That's what I want our customers to see at the end.
Absolutely. Show what kind of work these guys are doing out here. That's awesome stuff.
And at the end of the year, I also would like to compile a report holistically across all the committees. You know, how many potholes did they repair? How many water leaks did they repair? And start tracking those. Right now, they're guesstimates because it's not something we were tracking. We have a book in there that we're writing them in, so we have that sort of tracking. But ideally, we'll be able to show show the data however you want, really.
Sure.
We'll be able to report that. And ideally, I'd like to start reducing the amount of breaks that we have by being proactive and getting ahead of the known areas that we have. You know, that one street that starts with M, I'm not going to say
Yeah,
it.
we don't say that name. It's a 4-letter word.
Yes.
Starts with M. We do not say the name of that street.
Because it might make you ill.
Oh, boy.
But we did get a grant for next year, and it's a new water main down that street. And it's also asphalt that street. I brought it up to Stan Tech because they just put new gas on that street also, about trying to get a grant to put a new sewer on there. So then when we asphalt it, everything's new and we won't have to worry about going back in anytime in the near future and digging it up for something.
And on top of that, this year was the first year that EPA started giving loan forgiveness for water lines. So we made it a big project, not only Mill Street, but it's a big
It's a
project.
very large project. There's water lines going in a lot of
And
places.
since we have to borrow the money, we're borrowing the money, but we're getting a big hefty part of that money that we're borrowing forgave. So it's like, maybe we're gonna pay like 50% of what we would have paid.
We are also working with Jeff Trawl out at the water plant, and we are keeping track of what the plant produces a month and what we actually bill a month, so we can start keeping track of water loss to make it easier when we go for grants.
You know, believe this or not, one time about maybe 12, 13 years ago, we authorized and budgeted for a master meter out there and never got put in.
But with the way that plant's set up, they can tell exactly what the plant produces. So then we put that up against what's billed, what we charge for. Like the swimming pool doesn't have a meter on it. As soon as it's drained this year, it's getting a meter on it. So then that way we can keep track of what actually goes into the pool.
It's great.
To go to our loss.
Well, that
ratio.
helps too, like if you get a leak in the pool you don't know about.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's set up on a float system.
Yeah.
So the water's always on, and it'll just, if it loses some, because condensation or whatnot, it'll fill itself back up.
Recreation.
So that would also be a measurable metric that I'd like to propose to council in the future. That's just one way of reducing water loss every year. You know, set goals, decrease 5%, whatever we all agree to. But that's the kind of stuff that, you know, I would like to report back to the public that we are being proactive to get rid of problems, but it's actually a measurable metric.
Well, as we go through and fix old water lines and fix and do new service and taps, we're going to address a lot of that just by that big project. It's yeah, we picked out the worst water lines we had in the city for that project. How many was? You remember how many there was?
There's a bunch. There's a bunch in town, and we got Kimberly, I forget if it's 7,000 or 8,000 feet on Kimberly Road that's getting replaced.
I don't remember the numbers, but it's a lot.
That line's,
Wow.
So it's transite, which
Yeah, transite line.
if you look at it funny, it'll bust. It's really old and very.
and it's dangerous.
So we got some more comments if you guys are.
Yeah.
Oh, we have one in the
That
back.
one
Go
from the
for it.
audience there.
So, these water lines that we have, with your experience with directional boring, are most of these lines that we have in the city, are we able to directional bore these?
Some of them,
Because that's gonna save a ton.
some of them we can, and we've actually talked to Stantec about grants, because our biggest piece of equipment right now is a backhoe, and we need more equipment to actually be able to do what we need to do. And I've done directional boring for 25 years. So I've talked to Stantec about maybe getting a grant to get a directional boring machine, because then we can start replacing water and sewer lines ourselves.
Well, that's the same thing we were paying out to Yin Yang. That's why we bought the pump track. Because we were paying large contracts for, actually, we were paying more each year for the
back truck,
back truck than,
Oh, yeah, these things are expensive.
very expensive.
So would that help you not have to tear up somebody's streets then? when
Very,
you-
very expensive. And the good thing with directional drilling is you can set up, and if you're replacing the main, you can set up here and have a hole. And if you don't have to spot anything, you don't have a hole till 300 or 400 feet away. And then you just dig up where your services are tying on, where your taps are tying on. And that's all you gotta restrate instead of trying to open cut it, restrate everything. It really cuts down on time.
Sounds like a great plan for the future.
Time and materials, money used for materials.
Okay, so the questions here. So, hi Nan. People leaving the jail need transportation out of town. Can we work on that? That is a very, very known problem. And we are
trying to get a bus stop there. But one of the problems with having a bus stop is if someone bonds out, the jail can't keep them. Or if their time's up, the jail has to let them go, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. They can't hold somebody that they haven't got legal authority to hold. So you know, the bus route that Jesse's, that is, she got the first grant for. Other things we were trying to accomplish was get the agency that dropped them off to pick them up. And with the regional jail being, you know, there's a lot into it, but in the jail's defense, if somebody is scheduled to get out at 1 o'clock in the morning, they can't say we're keeping you here till 6 when the bus gets there. So that you know, it's causing a problem.
Can't we coordinate though with maybe the judges that sign the orders to say, hey, let them out at 6 or 5
Well,
or 12?
Somebody gets arrested and they get arrested, say in New Lexington, they bring them over here and their family has the bail bonds and bond them out. And they don't want to wait for their family to come get them. They walk down over the hill. There's nothing the jail can do about it.
Then you got all the people on the road that have to put up with it. Not to mention people driving up and down the hill. It's dangerous. You know, it's dark up there. It's a narrow road. You know, it's dangerous for both. There needs to be a solution.
The other question is, who pays for all these water leaks? So if I'm understanding the question correctly, the everyday breaks that we're finding and addressing, that's us as the city, we take care of that. There is a balance for the breaks taking place in the project down on Chestnut Street. It's a give take, and with the other contractor that we had in town who's currently leaving town as we speak, you know, we had tons of breaks over on Burrock Boulevard, and it was a very good partnership, to say the least. Sometimes if it was easy fix, they got in there and fixed it. Sometimes if it was a hard fix, they actually let us use their equipment because we didn't have equipment big enough to handle the situation. Or actually, no, they didn't do that. They actually gave us a operator too, correct? They gave us an operator and a piece of equipment, no charge, to come over and assist us to do it. So the contractors are paying for some of the stuff they break. They're assisting us with some of the stuff they break. And it just depends on the situation. If the water line was marked correctly and they hit it, then it's their responsibility. If the water line was not known to be there by anybody and they hit it, it's our responsibility. So it's hit or miss. And then
also too, is a lot of those leaks weren't because they hit them. A lot of those leaks was because our water line was old and needed replaced, and
The vibration.
The vibration and just working in an area caused the water line to start.
There's quite a bit of galvanized lines in town, and they just rust.
Yep.
You'll find holes. The one on College, that Saturday, I mean, I got a call one Saturday morning, come over and look, it's spraying out the roof, so I called some guys in. When they got it cut out, I mean, it had a decent size, probably 2 or 3 inch hole in it. And it's just where it was galvanized, and it just, over the years, the water running through it and just eating away at it.
Wow.
so we have more.
Okay.
So then the other question is, what's with the water on East Franklin Street and that big hole? Oh, that's the one we were talking about. So that one, and that's the one that we were talking about a bit ago. We tested it for years and years and years, and actually not years, it's like 2 years. And it was always tested and it came back not as drinking water. Well, Jason called in a contractor to have a camera run up through there because we were looking at ways to mitigate it because we believed it was groundwater or mine water. So we were looking at ways to mitigate it. Anyways, when they're up there messing around, a hole into the side of the hill was created. I don't know if you guys dug that or if it just, so they dug the hole in the side of the hill. They found a whole lot more water and they tested it, and sure enough, it has the chemicals in it and came back as drinking water. So that water is stopped leaking, correct?
It should be stopped now.
Should be stopped, and they're in the middle of repairing it.
We got it shut off yesterday.
So it shut off yesterday, and tomorrow they're going to reconnect to the houses, which nobody lives in.
Nobody lives in anymore.
So the 2 houses that, yes, so the 2 folks that don't have, the 2 houses that don't have service will have service by the end of the week, and it's coming from a different direction, and we're going to abandon that line in place.
It's already been abandoned at the main. So there's no way it's ever going to be taken.
Does that mean was just losing all that water for 2 years?
So would you say, Jason, we have almost 50% water loss?
It was Jeff, we had it figured about 4 months ago, it's 53% water loss.
So we're processing that water.
From what the plant's actually producing to what we're doing.
We have to pay for all the chemicals to.
Yes, ma'am. That's why we want, so that's
why right now, water leaks is mine. Yeah, it just blows my mind how much money is being lost to water leaks.
Whatever we can do to help.
Poor infrastructure,
Well,
that comes from not keeping up the infrastructure.
and the bad thing is, we don't have as-builds for anything. It just makes it really hard sometimes when we get to dig stuff up. So we're working, the GIS system, everything we got, we're working on being able to remedy all that.
And we can't expect you to fix 20 years in 6 months, so.
Yeah, we'll give you 8.
Yeah, so everything that you guys have given us in utility meeting and finance and everything else, all that stuff is going to help us start getting ahead. We're probably going to be triaging till the end of the year, just stuff to get to a breathable spot. And then we want to start leading forward and attacking known areas that we know about and getting that wrapped up. And to measure progress, that's why I would like to report water loss. We have it roughly figured at 53%, but at the end of the year, I'd like to come to council and say, all right, here's where we're at water loss. I would like to reduce 1, 2, whatever percent, is realistic. It'd be unrealistic to say we want to cut
Let me give you
25%.
the bad news is that we picked out probably the 10 or 11 or 12 worst lines in the city. But when those are done, there's another 10, 11, 12 waiting in their place.
Right.
And you cannot sit and tell people, well, we're not going to raise your bill because even though we're being as proactive as possible on getting grants and getting loan forgiveness, one of the ways we're in the problem is that through the years, council was afraid to raise rates enough to be able to do projects. And even though, we have the lowest water rate in southeastern Ohio, we got a very old infrastructure that's going to take a lot more work now than it should have taken.
Yeah, we're also losing half our water.
Have we kept up with replacing the infrastructure?
See enough on overtime that'll help with that too.
I actually directional boring.
I actually have one of the guys back there this morning come in my office, talk to me. He said last year he had 2 paychecks that didn't have overtime on it. Is all he had. He had that much overtime. He said so far this year he's had 9. So we've cut a lot of the overtime out.
And to clarify, that's a good thing, less overtime, more time with their families. Some like them overtime, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times we're burning these guys out.
Sure.
So.
Anyone have anything else?
More
Comments?
See who's paying for the actual water leak. So the actual water is so again, it's who's paying the actual water that's being leaked. And I don't know how you would answer that, how other than that we have.
Here's how it works with the water system. You have to collect enough money to fix your water system, to produce water, and that gets equally distributed amongst everybody that buys water. And that goes in the price of the water. There's no way to not say that there's no way not to pay for water that's leaking. That goes on the water bills. Whatever it costs to produce the water at the water plant, that's a cost that has to be paid. If you have to buy chemicals, if you have to pay labor, that's a cost that comes out of the water fund. That's why the water fund is what's called a proprietary account, that you can only spend things out of the water fund that have to do with water.
Aren't the valves coming out of capital improvement there, the ones we put in last year?
Yeah, we did buy valves out of capital improvement to try to, because our water fund was in such bad shape, and we were trying to hold down the cost of or the amount of the water rate increases. So we transferred some money out of capital improvement. There again, when you take money out of capital improvement, there are streets that don't get fixed. So, I mean, yeah, if you're looking at it, and I know this is not anything that any politician would say, but there's no free lunch. And you have to pay for those things. And as a result of not keeping the water lines up, we just have to produce extra water. Matter of fact, when we built the water plant, it was built about 2/3 bigger than it needed to be. One, for water leaks, and two, for the ability to grow in the future and add businesses or whatever, and not have to increase the size of the water plant. So we have a lot of unused capacity at the water plant. But I just have to say, we got to keep, when we get this project done on the first 10 or 11 water lines, we have to identify the next 10 or 11 water lines, and we have to keep moving. And because, as he said, things in the ground rust. Trucks drive over and vibrate, things in the ground break. And it's just, if you don't have a maintenance program, well, then it'll end up biting you in the hind end after so many years pass. And that's what has happened to us right now. We're losing way more water than we should be losing.
Well, the good thing about new technology is everything's going to be plastic, and it's thick plastic that'll outlast any of us. As far as blowing or getting just rotten out, it just won't do it. It's not like the old.
The only thing that bothers that is traffic vibration, and
yeah, but
not as bad as what metal.
Not like the old lines we have in town now.
Okay, anything more, Scott?
I don't see anything else that's popping up.
That's covered.
Sounds like a good time to adjourn.
You bet.